Welcome to Education Matters, presented by the Public School Forum of North Carolina. I'm your host, Amos Vodchuk. Last month, federal agents from U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement, or ICE, and Customs Border Patrol, or CPB, arrived in North Carolina, and it was recently announced that agents will likely remain in the area throughout the month of December. Today, we're continuing our discussion on what that means for students, families, and local communities at large. Our guests are Emily Chavez, school board member of Durham Public Schools, Janice Ramirez, co-executive director, Education Justice Alliance, and Tony Macias, organizer for Durham Public Schools Strong. Thank you all for joining us. So I'm fascinated by the impact of these tactics, and as it relates to schools, there really only is one true statistical measure that schools are held accountable for other than test scores, and that is attendance. Tony, can you share from your point of view how decreased school attendance has overlapped with food insecurity for students?
Yeah, absolutely. As a school parent in Durham Public Schools and a proud member of our public school community and of Public School Strong, we know that many of our students rely on school-based nutrition. And I've met some of the nutrition services staff. They are really dedicated to what they do. They understand the importance, whether the crisis is COVID or people not coming to school or leaving their homes because of this new threat that they perceive. And that is also very real, that we don't fully understand the scope of the threat at times. And so if we can't tell them as advocates, as organizers, as people in solidarity, or as school districts to be able to fully communicate in a way that families can really understand, yes, it is safe to take my kid to school. I will see them when they get home. And full stop on that one, because I have seen some parents give some extra long hugs to their children. And I've talked with parents who said, no, I'm not going to send my kid to school because I need them next to me all day. That's where I know they're most safe, is right next to me. And as a parent, I can understand that feeling of deep attachment and fear and worry. And so we know that students have not been attending in the week before Thanksgiving. I don't have current figures for what's happening now. It seems like there's improved attendance this week, yet there are students who are missing in my child's class, and we can only speculate. But when school attendance drops, students are unable to get the same nutrition services that they're getting from school, both breakfast, lunch, snack, all kinds of things that they get in the school buildings. And so what Public School Strong, Durham for All, and other partners have done with over the last 2 weeks has been extraordinary. We've been able to feed over 2,000 families. We stood up a food distribution program with partners from Day One Relief and Emmanuel Food Pantry, Student U, and many other groups have come together to prepare tens of thousands of meals ready to go in bags going out to community groups and school communities to make sure that people who aren't able to leave their homes, who do not feel safe going to the grocery store or going to work, are able to receive food, culturally appropriate food that they can serve their families with. And we've heard an outpouring of those families of gratitude. I also just want to say once again that as advocates who aren't directly impacted by this, the gratitude is well received. But what I always want people to know is that this is something that they deserve. That this support that they've gotten from us isn't charity. It is something that they deserve and would have gotten for themselves and would have given to me if I were in the same situation. And so this is solidarity. This is us supporting people in a moment of need. And I know that they would support us. They belong and they deserve to have everything that we have. And so by providing support, food support to these families who are skipping school for their own safety, we're able to close the circle on their nutritional needs and be in communication with them about their rights, because we drop some know your rights information in those food bags and are in community and communication with those folks, because when they receive the food, they see who delivered that food to them and they understand that we are together, and that closes this that helps them feel connected in a way that is taken from you when you feel the terror of ICE and CBP in communities.
Thank you, Tony. Janice, anything to share?
Yeah, I have admired so much of what the collective care that has been done in Durham, right? Really coming together, doing those drives, being able to to build a system that is about taking care of your neighbor, right? Taking care of your community and really centering that these are families that, like Tony said, if I was in that position or he was in that position, they would do the same for us, right? Like this is real neighbor to neighbor love, right? That we're showing to one another. And it's unfortunate that that's not happening around the state, right? I've already seen in this last week that while there were food distribution centers that were set up before Thanksgiving and during the first half of Thanksgiving, some of that is deteriorating, right? Where there's not enough food that's available. And so parents aren't being able to access food for their children and for their families that is culturally appropriate. It's been a real struggle where families are calling and saying, hey, do you know where I can get food delivery? And I know Compare Foods had put out that they were doing food deliveries. However, we're also seeing that folks aren't able to go to work. And so because they're not able to go to work, they don't have the financial stability to be able to purchase foods, to be able to support their families, right? And so we're seeing a gap. And imagine in a place like Durham, a place like Wake, where we have these structures, but we're talking about rural areas that may not have that same thing, right? That also are being attacked by ICE and CBP in ways that we don't even know because it's not all over the news, right? And so I think one of the things that I get really concerned about is in these other areas, when we think about schools' role in supporting families and talking to the families about what they're able to do, how they're able to care for them, there's not enough being said, right? And so I really praise DPS for putting out a resolution around safe zones and naming how they're protecting their students and protecting their families. And I hope that that is a template and a role that they can take on, other school districts can take on to do the same, but adding these elements of naming how are schools supporting families who are suffering from food insecurity? How are school districts going to support children who are coming to school who may be hungry? Can they take something home, right? Because they have made it to school. So what are some things, some tactics, strategies that our school districts can think about in like thinking about it in an innovative way to be able to support our families? That this is one issue that we're dealing with right now, but something else is to come. And I think we need to be more prepared. And we weren't prepared for this. This was unprecedented times, just like pandemic was. But we need to start thinking about how do we create infrastructures inside of our systems to really support families, no matter what the word is escaping me, like what these big traumatic situations happen, right? So those are the things that are coming up for me.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you. Emily, do you have anything to add on this subject, and with an emphasis especially on how community organizers, advocates, local leaders are responding to families in crisis with children who are working hard and striving to continue their learning?
Well, I'll just say I've also seen this, just jumping into action, which has been amazing. Certainly supporting Durham Public Schools, but among other smaller entities as well in this area. So that's been amazing to watch. I will say, this is food is a human right. And last year, our district implemented the community eligibility provision, which allowed for us to provide free breakfast and lunch to all of our students. So, regardless of any paperwork or anything. So, um, to lose access to that is really huge. And I will just say that, we know that food access is directly related to academic outcomes. It's related to not only the obvious physical health, but also mental health, stress levels, and emotional well-being. So, food is really, that access to food is really essential for families, and I am proud of the work we're doing. I hope that it will, it will continue, but there's a huge capacity needed for these kind of efforts that we have to keep in mind as well.
After the break, we'll continue our discussion on how immigration enforcement efforts are affecting our communities and schools. Tony, I'm drawn to the background that you have on your screen. I know there's a story behind it. Can you share with us what that is?
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Amos. This is a background that shows a part of a yard sign that we've produced as Public School Strong with our partners, the Durham Public Schools Foundation. There are some immigrant moms who do organizing in our community and have been for some time in our schools. They are heroes to me because they have the courage to stand up for themselves and their children around everything from restorative justice to language access and language justice in the schools. They are avid supporters of public schools and also supporters of making sure that our public schools have the funding, resources, and excellence that they need to provide the best possible education for all of our children. They said in one very loud and clear voice, Aquí estamos de pie donde pertenecemos. And a rough translation of that is written around the sides of the sign. We are here standing strong in our rightful place as immigrants, saying that this isn't somewhere that we're visiting, somewhere that we're wondering if we belong, but this is our place, and we want everyone to know that. And so it was a phrase that immigrant moms were sharing with us, and we decided to contact some local artists and turn it into this beautiful image as a campaign to not say that you are welcome, but rather as a way and a platform for immigrants themselves to say that we feel that we belong here. We have a story to share. We have knowledge and wisdom to share. And it's been a very successful campaign. We've made nearly 1,000 signs at this point, distributed them across Durham and all of our schools. Our superintendent was very supportive of these signs and thought they gave the right message. And so there's one, I believe, at every one of our schools, inside and out. They're across our communities and neighborhoods. Everybody wants one for their yard. And it's a real great opportunity for folks to show solidarity and to show support. We carry them to the schools in the mornings. And in the evenings, we hold the signs up along with other homemade signs in order to be recognized as folks who are safe, who are at our schools. Public School Strong and our partners have placed volunteers in the mornings at drop off and in the afternoons at pick up at over 40 schools across our district. And those folks are also helping at bus stops and organizing at a school level to respond to the community needs that we already spoke about, including food, but also safe to school and safe home programming and efforts that are really led by parents. And so this again is building community, one yard sign at a time. And we have also drawn the connection that English language translation that's on this yard sign comes from a civil rights song that's taught at the Highlander Center in Tennessee, and is a connection to what you were saying earlier, Emily, that we are fighting against the kind of terror that was sown by slave catchers and by Jim Crow police and governments and state-sponsored terror. And we are facing something similar again, if not the same struggle, a similar struggle. And so we are standing up for ourselves and saying that we belong, no matter who we are. We are part of these communities. And so these signs have really been a powerful sign of that and message, and we're getting them out far and wide.
It's incredible imagery, Tony. I was driving around Durham over the weekend and saw at least three of them without looking for them. And so as they continue to saturate the community, that's its own data point and something powerful and visual. I think the question that I have that I hope our viewers will take away, if nothing else, is what you would like community members who feel unaffected by this to know. If there was one thing that each of you wanted to emphasize, what would that be?
That you
Denise.
are affected by this. This impacts everyone, right? We are a community. And I think one of the things that was brought up in the beginning was around solidarity. When we think about where we want to see the world we want to live in, I have an 8-year-old daughter in public schools. I'm a mom, right? First and foremost. And I know the kind of community that I want to see for my family and for my child. And I think that when you feel a sense of disconnect to the situation and think that you're not affected, you're not really looking around. Our economy is being impacted by this. Our schools are being impacted by this. Our families are being impacted by this. Our infrastructures are being impacted by this, by people being scared to go to work, right? There are homes that are not being built because of the fear that's being instilled. And this is also not just about status. And it was brought up earlier about this is direct racial discrimination. So I'm not naming that any of these folks that are choosing not to be at work or to stay home is because they are undocumented. It is because this is targeting folks who are even citizens that look a certain way, right? And so you are affected by this. And so I ask you to really do your own education, to really think about who you are and what you're bringing to this world that you're in and this community that you're in, and be a part of the change that we really need to see, right? And I know it's hard to think about something that you've never seen before, but dream. I invite you to really dream of what it could be to really be in solidarity with people and to really think about creating spaces like our schools, like our neighborhoods that are safe for everybody who belong here, right? Everyone belongs here. And so I really ask folks to get trained, go to trainings to really understand what the rights are. Let's say you don't want to help and support in schools. Learn about the rights of businesses, support these businesses, go out and support local businesses, immigrant ran, immigrant owned, because they're suffering. They're suffering. And so it is time for you to think about how you are a good neighbor. This is a time for you to really think about how to be a good neighbor.
Tony.
I mean, I think Janice, you said it so well. We're all impacted by this, whether we know we are or not. And there's so many things that make communities strong and that hold us together that may be easy to ignore because you forget about those who are holding you up every day, who are serving your food, who are building your homes, who are in your children's classrooms with you, with your children. And I think that it's important just to lean in with curiosity. Our neighbors who think that they're not impacted by that, just lean a little closer in and you'll start to see those impacts and stay there. Stay leaned in to your community, into the classrooms, into your schools. I'm a proud member of our PTA and I'm active in my school community because every time I lean into my school community, I learn something new. I make a new connection with another parent, especially as a father in schools. There aren't enough of us, dads, participating in school community activities. And I want that to grow because children need to see us showing an interest in their education. Educators, moms, other caregivers all deserve to see us in those spaces as well. And I just want to say that this morning I was watching my texts go by and someone who was reporting out from one of our school care and protection teams said they shared this the brief anecdote. They said that there were parents standing out front of the school with signs, and one of the parent volunteers who were driving students to school this morning because their parents don't feel safe taking them to school, was explaining who those folks were out in front of their school. And the third grader, this boy, started crying, and he said, "They want us here." With joy. Now, that sounds like a joy story and a success story, but I'm a little devastated by that story because why in the world does this child wonder that he's welcome or not? Why in the world does this child not know in his bones that he belongs in that classroom, he belongs in that school, and that he deserves to be able to walk safely or ride safely without fear? We have so much rebuilding to do, so much building that's still to do. And so as a parent in schools, my indenture, my goal is to build community one relationship at a time, one yard sign at a time, one conversation at a time. And as someone who's an interpreter and translator who speaks Spanish and English, I have the ability to not only converse in those languages, but to help others talk to each other, sometimes for the first time. And then they realize, oh, the interpretation isn't for the person who doesn't speak English. It's for me, an English speaker as well, because I was missing out so much on the brilliance and wisdom of that parent. And the only reason was because we don't share a language. So there's so much building that can happen. And I just want to say that our school buildings, especially our public schools, are places where we all come together and our communities are better when we study together. And so my heroes, once again, and what I try to center for people who may not remember who those heroes are the parents, caregivers, educators who get up every day, face their fears so that they can deliver their children into the school building where we all get together to rebuild community, one classroom at a time. And if we can't do that because a third of our classrooms are missing because of fear, or we can't have PTA events and fundraisers and soccer games and everything else because of the fear that's being sown, then our communities weaken. And so everything that we can do to strengthen community within our schools is to everyone's benefit. And it becomes so obvious the moment you step in. And I would just say that if you don't know how to speak another language, all you have to know what to do is to find an interpreter and say, come over here. I've got to talk with that person. I really want to know something new. I want to build a relationship with that person because we have kids in the same class. And then it blossoms from there. And so you don't have to speak all the languages of the world. You definitely don't have to have all the answers. But one of the antidotes to fear and terror is building hope through connection. And we can do that across language. All you got to do is find someone to help you do that.
Thank you, Tony. Emily.
What I would say is that we must remember and understand that privilege always comes at the cost to another person or another group of people. And we have a responsibility to the people in our communities, morally, for some of us spiritually. We have a responsibility to understand other experiences and support one another. And it's important for people to understand that those with lived experiences have knowledge that those of us who don't have that same lived experience that we don't have. There is wisdom in different experiences that we can only try to understand by listening to those with that experience. And I would say that when you fight against the dehumanization of others, you connect to your own humanity. If we allow people to simply be dehumanized and turn away, or even participate in it, we are denying something to ourselves as well. And lastly, this narrative that some people are illegal, that's a narrative that we've been sold, and I do mean sold, and it is a lie. No people are illegal. That's not, it's not a real thing. It's a thing that has been crafted and created, and something that we have adopted as in some way as a structure for how to organize people. But no one is illegal.
Emily, thank you very much. Tony Macias, Janice Ramirez, and Emily Chavez, thank you for your time today, and we are deeply grateful to you for your leadership and service, and we look forward to seeing you in community. Thank you, everyone. After the break, this week's final word. What's happening in Durham is painful and powerful. Community members are stepping up to ensure schools remain places of refuge, not fear. But Durham is not alone. Across the country, we're seeing disturbing echoes. In Virginia, a school superintendent, Dr. Clint Mitchell, stood at a board meeting holding his passport and degrees just to prove he belonged. A U.S. citizen, an immigrant, a Black leader, forced to justify his presence. In Washington, a bill has been introduced that would revoke U.S. citizenship from dual nationals unless they give up their other identity. That includes people like me. I was born and raised in Canada. I love that country. And I love this one. I became an American by choice, by oath. This country has given me a place to raise my family and serve communities I care about deeply. And yet, I now feel what so many others feel every day: the weight of being asked to prove that I belong. I'm seeing masked men detain people outside of schools. I hear from educators comforting children who whisper, "Will my mom be home when I get there?" This is not about policy. It's about fear. It's about dignity. And Durham can't do this work alone. They need us. I need you. We need each other. Teachers are still showing up for their students. Community members are still rising up for their neighbors. Let's stand with them. Let's protect what public schools should be: places of safety, of hope, and of belonging for every child. That's the country I chose, and it's the country I still believe in, if we choose each other. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next week.